This video is brought to you by Union of Gnomes, the deck-building roguelike where you stack together groups of bearded men to bring down your favorite fairy tale characters. The treacherous Snow White has used her enchanting voice to enslave your kind, and it's up to you to lead the gnome uprising. Free your fellow height-impaired comrades, gain new cards and playable heroes as they join your ranks, and work towards putting a stop to her oppressive rule. See the end of the gnome oppression in the story mode, or try to survive the infinite gameplay of Never-Ending Nightmare. It's up to you to build a deck with perfect game-breaking synergy as what I assume is a group of non-speaking rappers. You know, because in Union of Gnomes, the G is silent. Union of Gnomes hits early access on July 18th, so head on over to the Steam page and start your uprising today. Boo all you want.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Windbreakers podcast. Marty's on holes, as we used to say in the ghetto. And we're being joined by Jay instead. Say hello, Jay.
Hello. Apparently I'm Sebastian, though.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Marty's gone, so you're me. I'm Jay. Yeah.
My memories have just been shot back into my brain. I remember.
And
I'm the obnoxious game dev guy.
And Frost's here too, of course.
Yeah.
And in the aftermath of Jay being a big shot industry shoulder rubber with his Tim Schafer interview, we thought we'd talk about our favourite devs and game developers. Not based on what games they've made, because we'll just end up talking about our favourite games again, and we've done that shit enough times. But which ones we most like as people.
How
did you get on with Tim Schafer, by the way?
Yeah, because you I don't want to use the word salty. You really wanted to be in that stream because you're a big fan.
I've played Secret of Monkey Island when I was like 10. I've followed his career ever since.
Yeah, it's like my Beyond Good and Evil with Michelle Ancel. Like Tina was saying it beforehand and while we were on the podcast that Tim is the only person that she's ever met she's not had to prove herself to for like being a woman, and that he's super, super nice. And I feel the same. I didn't have to prove myself to him for being a woman. No, he's just like the loveliest dude. Super down to earth. I said to him before the pod started, he was like, I recognize you. Have we met? And I was like, I saw you from a distance at GDC. And he was like, oh yeah, we locked eyes, didn't we? And you whispered, come on my podcast. Like he's just down for a joke and he's really nice. And I find that most of the devs I meet are like that. Like they're just super chill.
Well, what I found that if you've got a dev who's had a long career and who has attracted a lot of good talent, that usually means they're a pretty good person to work with.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
Definitely.
Gotta be careful because it's a small scene, right? But they're a known bunch. The amount of times I'll talk to a dev that I like look up to or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, you're you," and I'm like, "Why do you know who I know who I am? Why do you know who I am?"
Yeah,
be careful there.
Yeah, this might surprise you, listeners, but I usually get along pretty well with game developers. Even, dare I say, especially ones I've talked shit about. Because they're usually pretty good sports. I interviewed John Ramiro when we were at E3, and he was a lot of fun. I've got through the whole interview without having asked him if he'd seen my stuff. And then at the end, we wanted to get a shot of him staring balefully at me, so I mentioned tactfully, I might have talked some shit about you over the years, and he said, yeah, I've seen a lot of it. So that was a load off my mind right there. But he put me at my ease. And I got to say, game developers are the only people I get starstruck around. My favorite game developers, I get nervous and starstruck around. Actual celebrities, fuck off. People who are also internet influencers like myself, those guys can fuck off too.
Yeah.
I once went go-karting with Brian O'Halloran.
Who?
He played Dante in Clerks.
Oh really?
Oh, that's right.
Did not know.
Yeah. The lead character in Clerks. He was at a convention, I was at a convention.
Oh, okay.
And he'd just seen my stuff and was a big fan, and we ended up hanging out, and we just when you just click with someone, we just,
Yeah.
we just really got on. We hung out, we exchanged signed photos. Then after the convention, we partied and hung out at a go-karting track.
What was the spark of that conversation? Like, which one of you went, let's go-karting?
I don't know. It was a long time ago, so the memory's all a bit of a blur. But I remember him coming up to me and saying, Yahtzee, I just wanted to say I'm a huge fan. And my mind was just going like, you seem vaguely familiar and I'm trying to place it.
Oh,
And
that's
he's a
awkward.
celeb. That's crazy. We when we were at GDC, it blew my mind. We were on our way to some meeting, and then Nick was like, "Oh, we've got to leave because the CD Projekt Red team are like at our hotel waiting they want to see us." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was expecting like, PR, like there was just a PR representative, but we got there and it was like the lead quest designer, game director,
Yeah.
and they were like, mainly you. They knew my stuff, but it was for you because you've been in the industry so long. They were so excited to meet us, just as we were excited to meet them. And
yeah, as I say, they're always good sports.
yeah,
And I had fond memories of, at another convention, one of the developers of Wet, that I talked absolute shit about, came up to me and said, "Hey, thanks for your video. We agreed with everything you said. We got handed the build by the publisher and we're given like 3 weeks to finish it."
oh my god.
And they gave me like a copy of one of their previous games that they'd also hated working on. I think it was Tom Clancy's Future Soldier, something like that.
Oh,
And it had signatures from the whole dev team on it.
oh, nice.
It's always a strange one, that when like you're
Yeah.
critiquing the game and people stand up for the game, whereas you come off more as like the voice of the devs of like, yeah, that was like these were stupid decisions that were made. We had to.
Yeah.
Weird time them, these devs.
You can have more of a peek into it as well, Yachts, because like you're a dev yourself, so like you can see when things are clearly either weird creative decisions or may have been pushed on them by publishers and stuff like that. Have you ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Peter Molyneux.
I've got plenty of insight on that just working for The Escapist, frankly.
So
Yeah. Have you met a dev who was actually mad at one of your reviews, like in person?
Ooh, well, actually, I'm so sorry. Like Mikey, yeah, who you do your podcast with?
Yeah, Mikey, yeah.
Yeah, we met at, I think it was E3 2019, because Nick knew him, and we were just chatting over lunch, and he sort of like pinned me to the floor with a question of, what exactly did you think of Prey? Because he'd worked on it. Yes, and I felt a little bit on the spot when he asked me that. There was an intensity in his eyes when he asked.
Did you recite your script and just watch his soul crumble?
did you link him the video?
Well, I think I cited something I said before that there was nothing wrong with Prey, but I think that perhaps the fact that it was so highly polished that meant it didn't really stick in people's memories.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
one
it's
of those.
strange.
At what point did you, as you were growing, because you exploded, did you start thinking, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't talk my shite to these developers as much as I could have"?
No, it was broadcast to me right from the beginning that the devs are cool, because when I first knew that I'd become hot, because I did a review of Fable: The Lost Chapters, and I got an email from Peter Molyneux.
Wow.
Like, yeah, he said he loved my video and he hoped Fable 3 lived up to my standards. And my first review was, of course, The Darkness, and the same thing happened. I got an email from Theo Savadis, who was one of the leads on that, and we ended up like exchanging emails back and forth a bit. So yeah, right from the beginning, I was getting contacted by devs, and they were really chill about it. So I just felt, fuck it, let's just keep being as horrible as possible, because it seems to work. Pavlovian conditioning and all that.
Look at that! Yeah, it's their fault.
It's surreal.
Not
though,
long.
right?
And not long afterwards, of course, after I did the Orange Box, I was invited to tour the Valve studios and got to meet Gabe Newell and
Mental.
Eric Walpole.
It's crazy though, because you've had it for longer, but I know Frost and I get it. Like whenever we cover, certain topics, certain things, a lot of industry people do reach out, because even if you're critiquing, a lot of devs and industry people just appreciate it and they want to hear it, because we're all very constructive here at Second Wind. Oh, there's the picture.
There
Look
it
at
is.
Look at
Oh,
him.
look how embryonic I am.
Fresh.
Still,
Yeah, hair is still wet from the womb. Look at that.
yeah,
Gabriel looks the same
still
in
wearing
every
a hat, still shaving my cheeks, still wearing that fucking leather jacket I used to have.
Boom. Do you still have that leather jacket?
I don't think so. I
Oh,
don't know
no.
where it ended up.
It's like behind that sofa right now.
Yeah, I was really intimidated the whole time I was there at Valve because,
Because like, how long had you been
you know,
doing it at that point?
like, cause when did Orange Box come out? It was like 07, 08, right?
Yeah.
That was like
Okay,
right at the start of my zero punctuation career. I was still a fresh-faced, naive, like mid-20 something.
Wow.
And up until then, like I'd only ever like been a tiny poverty-stricken blip in the world. And suddenly I was a big shot and like getting to meet all my game dev heroes.
It's mad. I had that experience when we were at The Escapist and we went to make the Sea of Stars doc. It was really nice to meet everyone at Sabotage. But we were talking and we were like lining up a design delve to make, and we're going to do a level design one. And they were like, "Oh, let me introduce you to our level designer." And it was a guy called Philippe Dion, and I know who he is. Like, I followed his career. Some of the most influential games when I was a kid was Prince of Persia, and this guy was the level designer on all of the Prince of Persia games in early Assassin's Creed. And I didn't know he was there, and they were like, "Oh, let me introduce you to Philippe," and it blew my mind. And he was like a hero of mine, and we got to sit down and discuss level design, discuss some of the things I'm working on level design, and he was, in a really constructive way, critiquing my stuff and like giving me advice. And it's such a surreal feeling to be like, these games that I played and loved so much, we're now getting to, rub shoulders with the people who made those experiences, and it's such a nice feeling.
That's cool. I used to hang out with the local game dev community back when I lived in Brisbane. I knew a lot of them. We were all chums. I used to know the developers of Fruit Ninja. I knew the developers of Hand of Fate, Destroy All Humans 2. Pandemic had an office there. I was chummy with those lads.
Is there any devs that you guys would like really like to meet? Like, if I could teleport you to a dev or their studio right now.
While you're thinking on that, hold on. I wanted to say, have you praised the game yet? And the developer's like, "Thank you. I used to watch you growing up." Like, has the next generation gotten you yet?
I've gotten tweets along those lines. I think someone on Talos Principle 2 tweeted something along those lines. They said, "Now I can die happy."
Nice.
But as for developers I'd like to meet, I've still never met Lucas Pope.
Oh my god! Yeah,
I met Ben Esposito and like tongued his little booties over Neon White when we were at GDC.
Such a great game.
But I would love to meet Lucas Pope because the solo auto game dev is the thing I aspire to be.
I feel bad about having Tim Schafer on and not having you on simultaneously. So if we ever get Lucas Pope to come on Dev Heads, I promise you we'll get you in on that, and we'll have you there as well.
You gotta cram like 6 cameras in there, bro. I don't even need to be on screen. I just want to be
the
there.
entire team, and we'll just have it. All of us surrounding Lucas Pope going, "We love your games."
Yeah, that's to the line of like the kind of devs that I'm sort of attracted to, because the ones that make my favorite games, not so much as the ones that are more like, I guess, technically minded. Like Lucas Pope, for those who don't know, his history was he was making GUI tools for Naughty Dog. That's what his specialty was, and that's why his games are the way that they are. They're very tool focused. Like, how did you come about this? Yeah.
I love that. I love how design focused his stuff is. I mean, people saying like Toby Fox, who made Undertale, yeah, that's a good story. That's well written. But honestly, as a game dev, I'm more interested in like the nuts and bolts of it, And Lucas Pope is a very nuts and bolts game designer.
Yeah. Well, I think like a technical master as they come nowadays. So it's like you've got Lucas Pope on that end. On the other end, I do have my I don't know, just aesthetic, my Tim Burtons, right? Even for like the younger ones, like Renee Rother, who just made Children of the Sun. And what was that other studio? Strange Scaffold, who make El Paso Elsewhere, I'm Your Bees, Click Holding. Super stylized, right? Like just weird, absolute weird games.
Yeah, I love
Makes you
stylized
wonder,
stuff.
like, what was your upbringing like?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder that of Suda51. Another one I've met. I've always loved his theming that he likes to do.
Yeah.
And he was a chill dude when I talked to him for an on-camera interview. Which sort of like the strong contrast at that show was the interview between him and the interview with Yu Suzuki of Shenmue.
Right.
Because that guy, that was kind of an awkward interview.
He
little
gives
shy.
off awkward energy. That guy, like,
yeah, and like he had a translator who, struggled to pass my mumbly British dialect, I think.
oh, imagine having someone who already doesn't want to be there, and then they have to get stuff translated to them that's like secondhand. Not ideal.
But Suda51, he was fun. He was energetic. He put us at our ease. Although we had to work through a translator, but it was all cool.
Yeah.
See, maybe the other guy was also excitable. It's just the translator was the introvert, so it came through a bit diminished.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, an interview would literally hinge on the translator between people who don't speak the same language, wouldn't it?
There it goes. Well, I think you bring up Lucas Pope. I think my cryptid is definitely Miyazaki from Software Dark Souls. To have gone from accountant, played Ico, I want to be a game dev, looked for any place that'd hire him from Software. Demon Souls was absolutely a garbage Skyrim ripoff. So he's like, "Can I have it?" They go, "Yeah, sure." Okay, do the next one, and then pops off and becomes president within 10 years. Like, absolutely mental.
Crazy.
His background is accounting and then like a minor in sociology.
I'd want to.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those shuns the spotlight kind of developer.
Yeah, it's what you said about Tim. Whenever I hear about these Tim Schafers or Hidetaka Miyazaki, I want to go, as much as I adore and respect them. I want to go see their team. I want to see the team of people they've accrued to build what they've built. They're going to attract such crazy talent, and that's what I want to. That's where I want to go to and who I want to talk to. The problem is if I ever went to a studio just to, we're going to make you sign an NDA, just come see what we're doing, do some consulting, stuff like that. I would just want to talk to everyone at Sabotage. We were making the documentary, and we were nearly there for an extra day because I was just walking around at everyone's station, like, what are you doing? Show me what you're doing. Oh, are you doing this and this and this? And they were like, Jay, you've got a bloody job to do, you twat.
I guess I want to meet Hideo Kojima just to bask in whatever the fuck charisma he has that attracts so many Hollywood celebrities to his work.
Glasses. It's his glasses.
I don't know. Yeah, I saw, who was it? I think it was Marty, where he's saying, I don't know if this man makes games anymore. He's just always hanging out with celebrities.
Yeah. Mine, the person I'd like to meet, it's kind of awkward because they no longer work in the industry because of stuff. But Michel Ancel, who made Beyond Good and Evil and all the Rayman games and stuff like that, absolutely adore the design process and everything they've worked on, but they've quit because of a controversy that happened, and now they're doing something completely random, like they're like herding bees or something. Oh dear.
Yes, I mean, this podcast might age poorly if it turns out half the people we talk about were molesting interns or something.
Yeah, let's go ahead and put that up somewhere. We don't condone any action of these people. We don't know them.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what Ansel was doing. I don't actually know what Ansel was doing that led to a controversy. Probably best not touched upon.
Yeah, the stuff. I can't touch on the facts, but with the research I did on my last video, so much of it is like rumor and like some of the reporting that was done, apparently according to multiple people involved, wasn't that deep, and Ansel just left because of it. So we can't really speak to what happened, but it does suck because I would have loved to have met him and picked his brains, but herding bees now.
There's a separate question for you. Which game developer do you think people would most likely come forward about?
Oh God, man! Oh Jesus Christ!
That is a fucking loaded question.
Oh God, who's well? Well, you know what? No, this is weird. Is it slanderous and or libel? I don't know. Come forward with what? hard to work with. I'll leave it there as just being hard to work with. Probably Jonathan Blow.
Oh, I think people have come forward about Jonathan Blow about certain things.
I'm not about to, bring that attention to myself. But yeah,
I think the worst I know of Jonathan Blow is that he seems like a bit of a pretentious dick.
some do have to be.
Artals do are,
Yeah.
It's part of the comes with the
Who
territory.
else? Oh, I do like I like Shinji Mikami as well. We did a whole podcast, me and Marty, about Shinji Mikami because we love him so much. He's the classic behind the scenes man.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't realize they owe an awful lot of gaming's most pivotal franchises to him. He basically made Resident Evil and remade it as well when Resident Evil 4 came along.
Oh, you just reminded me. Somebody worked on similar things, worked on Devil May Cry and stuff like that. Hideki Kamiya.
Kamiya.
Bayonetta. I would adore to meet Hideki Kamiya, mainly just because he famously does not give a fuck about like anyone or anything. There's a famous story, and like I don't have this fully fact checked, so chat, check this if you will. But apparently, while he was making Bayonetta, he showed concept art of Bayonetta who had glasses, like librarian glasses, and an executive came over and was like, "Glasses aren't sexy. Remove the glasses off of her." So out of spite, he put glasses on every main character and refused to take them off.
I remember that.
It's so good.
I remember even like the main male character who doesn't wear glasses on his face has some tucked into his collar.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful little tidbit of just like, I don't care. And then like somebody tweeted at him saying, "Oh, you've made Bayonetta 2 an exclusive on Switch. You're a sellout. You suck." And then he responded, "It's either that or you don't get Bayonetta 2. Fuck off." And I love that shit. It's just like, it's so raw. I love it. I'd love him to just like rip the shit out of me for no reason at GDC.
I think the game developers I most admire these days are the ones who've stuck around since the like pre-3D graphics times, because because there's a lot of developers who couldn't really adapt. I want to say, someone like Peter Molyneux never really adapted well to the modern era. He made all his like big name titles back in the 2D era.
Yeah,
like that's odd considering, like we have the tech now to make what he was overpromising for, and now he doesn't want to use it. Like Sean Murray, I think, is our contemporary Peter Molyneux, but he's actually doing stuff with the tech, which is kind of crazy. I'd love to talk to him. Yeah,
but it amazes me that Hideo Kojima not only has weathered like the 8-bit era to the present day, but his like signature franchise has as well.
Yeah.
Like Metal Gear is pretty much the only franchise that has maintained a continuity from the 8-bit days.
Mario.
That doesn't count. Mario and Zelda just basically reinvent themselves for every era. Like Kojima still presents Metal Gear 1 as canon in the larger Metal Gear storyline.
Okay, so you mean like continuity-wise, not like mechanically?
Yeah. Okay. Still the same continuity. It's not like been reinvented.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Sonic.
Is that not a one canon thing? I played one Sonic game it was like Sonic Adventures on the Game Gear. It was a good time enough.
Yeah. Speaking of shit that didn't really weather the shift to 3D very well.
I don't think Sonic has weathered anything ever. I'm baffled Sonic exists. I something didn't click in my brain as a kid, and I was just like, "This, I don't get it. I don't get it."
Absolutely.
Anyone? Who else do we want to bring up?
I mean, I was gonna go off of like the people with the kind of fuck you mentality, fuck you attitude, because in this industry you do need a bit of arrogance. Some of them will be a little more abrasive, and some might just go completely up their own ass. But for that, I always enjoyed Edmund McMillan for his more of, I guess, crass humor that has almost never been really fully accepted. Right?
Yes, Edmund McMillan, please don't be outed as a groomer.
Yeah,
I mean, if anyone seems like they might be a likely candidate,
We love you.
I mean, I'm not saying he is. I'm not just saying that if it happens, people are going to look back at his work and go, "Well, the warning signs were there."
Jesus.
I know he'd be laughing at that, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Really.
Mine for me.
I talk. I mean,
He can say that. He just interacted with
Yeah.
Mr. McNulty.
yeah. You might have.
Allegedly.
Like he got in touch with me publicly on Twitter because he wanted me to record some cat noises for his new game. He's making like some new legacy roguelike about mutant cats or something.
Yeah.
So he got in touch and asked me to make cat noises. So I was bored. My work couch is set up with my mic anyway, so I just like spared him a few minutes to meow into a microphone for a while.
Contacting celebrities, internet celebrities, to make cat noises for you is degenerate behavior. So that's another one. That's another one for the list.
It's weird if the game doesn't release, Jay, and it just keeps the library.
The
game is a front to get all these noises.
Yeah.
If it was for his own personal use, I'd be creeped out, sure. But I assume it's for his game.
I mean, until it comes out, it is for
I need a lot of foot pics for my next game.
Yeah.
Tarantino of gaming out here. Yeah, so his attitude about the entire thing. I'd love to meet Jeff Kaplan. Took a director role, but just because of how he got into the role. And it was just him being a massive shit talker. To company, everyone could get it. They're like, fuck you guys suck. I'll do this for free if you want, pay me. And then Blizzard's like, you know what? I like your style. You're a high rater. Here, have a job. And then going on from there to Overwatch, and then seeing how he entered his sort of dad era of like, I can't tell people to go fuck themselves anymore, and I have to be nice.
Yeah,
he comes off as a very nice guy. Yeah.
Another thing that's a shame in the current era is that individual creators can't really leverage that kind of auteurism in like the big AAA industry anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the committee has agreed that the best way forward would be for you to toe the line, or we'll just get in basically anyone else because we've got the money.
Yeah.
You do. I do think there's a frontman issue in some games where they get big enough and people kind of need that one person to go to. That's why, like, the other one would be Ben Brode, who, my God, that man is booming laughter, making Hearthstone and then Marvel Snap. I think he makes fun design. Cannot balance worth a damn him. He is exciting to watch.
Yeah. I think...
Yeah, like Swery as well. He has fun ideas. He's like a weird little crazy man, and I like to see the results of his weird stream of consciousness, but he can't design for shit.
I think, speaking to the stream of consciousness, like, that's what I enjoy. Just like you were talking about, like Lucas Pope, with just these crazy, like, systems driven, like, auteurs. For me, who I've met multiple times, Daniel Mullins, who did, Pony Island, Inscription, stuff like that. That man's brain is just like warped in the best way. Like, the designs they come out with are just crazy, and that's what makes me really excited to play their games, but also just pick their brains on a design point, because you're just like, why did you do this? And they're like, because I dreamt it. And it's like, oh God. Like,
I find it so hard to let loose and like just really stream of consciousness. I mean, like, the imagery in Zero Punctuation Stroke Fully Ramblomatic is about the best I do, but I've tried to like apply that to game design and try to create something with an air or something like a Killer 7. And I really struggle with that. My main instinct is just I want everything to sort of make sense, I suppose. I mean, my best effort was probably Hatfall in terms of stream of consciousness game design.
My next video is on this,
Hogpocalypse.
Hogpocalypse Sow.
That was the best, like, stream of consciousness game, I feel. It's just like, you know what, that'll do. You Lucas
I guess
Pope stuff.
With Dev Diary, I could be a little more loosey-goosey.
That was nice.
And like, if you make the games very quickly, and like, sometimes creatively restrictions force you to think outside of the box and be quick and just be like, oh, this is weird and fun, I'm gonna make this. There's like, okay, I can't talk about the game, but because it's under an EA, but I can talk about something that we were making in it and how it evolved. Like, we didn't have long to prototype this movement mechanic, which is riding a pig. and you're racing around on a pig, and
I'm afraid
like-
Swery beat you to that one.
yeah, and I was like, this doesn't like it just feels like I'm riding anything. It's like it needs to feel like an uncontrollable fast pig. So we made it super fast. We like lerped the movement so it constantly feels like it's fighting against you when you're moving.
Oh, do you remember that Crash Bandicoot level where you have to ride a pig?
Yeah, kind of like that.
That felt like you were riding a pig.
Yeah, and we were trying to reach that, and I went around this corner, and I was like, oh, it'd be really funny if I could like pig drift. That would be fun. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm making this game. I can do that. So we implemented pig drifting. And it's extremely fun. But it just comes from this like idea of like, oh, this sounds interesting and weird. Let's do this. And like India is a beautiful place where you can actually do that. And those are the type of devs I want to meet who are having these crazy ideas and aren't thinking, oh are people going to like this? Is this going to sell millions of copies? They're just like, this is weird art. Fuck it, let's put it out there and just see what happens. Those are the people I want to meet.
You want to meet the guy who made Katamari Damacy?
Yeah, no, I don't want to get rolled up in a bowl and like go missing.
You will be included.
Try to ask him to explain Nobby Nobby Boy.
I always get nervous when I meet devs who know who I am, but like I haven't played their games. Like that's
not the worst. Oh my god,
it's not fun because you want to have this mutual exchange of like, you know, oh yeah, I love your stuff, you know, oh, I like your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of like, yeah, your stuff's great, you know, luckily they've never asked specific.
You say that to them, Jesus man.
You know,
if they want to talk to me, I Wikipedia their games. I play them all that night before. And I'm like, yeah, I love playing it.
It happens a lot at
yesterday.
GDC where like we'd meet people and they'd say, you know, they loved our stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then I'd be like, I think I know what you made. And then I haven't played any of their stuff, but luckily they're not. What did you think about this level and this game and stuff like that? It's usually quite just formal.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those, but thankfully I bring across a sort of intimidating aspect in public, and most of them would like try to get away quickly.
Yeah,
tall. Yeah.
Whereas I'm just a motor mouth, and people think I want to talk about every little tiny detail, and I'm like, I haven't played your game. I'm really sorry.
I think I was at a meet and greet at PAX once, and you know, people lined up, asked me to sign stuff, shake hands, and one nice lady just sort of pressed a paper bag into my hands and ran away. And I opened the paper bag, and inside there was it wasn't a bomb. There was a packet of Tim Tams. This was in America, incidentally.
Yeah.
And there was a very painstakingly made and adorable woolen doll of me.
Oh, that's such a shame that they didn't have the confidence to come.
She finally gave up. She relinquished her voodoo doll. Is that what that was?
I'd have loved to. I'd love to like her to see my reaction to her lovingly made crocheted facsimile of myself.
Your little.
She did leave her fucking business card in the bag, and turns out she was a fucking lawyer or something. It was kind of surreal.
Not a professional crocheting.
I mean, yeah. While you're waiting on a case, you're just out here. Sure.
Yeah. Everyone's got time to kill.
Imagine she gave you free will. that was your voodoo doll.
Shall we go super chats?
We can, but one last one. Big shout out to I love the most endearing are the nerd devs. Absolute nerdy as hell. That would be Sid Meier and Patrice Desailly, creator of putting his finger on Prince of Persia into the Assassin's Creed, even after he was like ousted from his own company. Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey, 1666, Amsterdam. You know, like no one makes these like super nerdy games, and I absolutely adore them for it.
You also find like all devs are like horrifically nerdy. There's a reason why dev heads.
I mean, like almost like school, very school nerdy. Nerding out on is a state of being, but this is very like the four: science, history, English, and
but also
maths.
like why we get big guests on dev heads and stuff like that, even though we're like quite a small podcast, is because if you give a dev a platform to just gush about their thing and like nerd out about a thing, they'll take it and they'll run because they're so hunkered down and spending 5 years on this one thing, and then even when it releases, you know, they get good reviews and stuff like that. devs very rarely get to talk to people and just explain why and how. So giving them a platform for that, they'll do it. They'll talk your ear off.
Oh, yeah.
I love nerding out about stuff.
Indeed. Let's see
I'll
what the.
I'll answer trivia questions on Red Dwarf all day.
Okay. All right. Now we go to Super Chats and see what the nerds are nerding out about.
Well, Fox D, a big nerd who gave us $5 nerdy, says SCS Software, Truck Simulator, or any other developer of ultra-realistic simulation games to learn what got them into such a niche genre as devs. Yeah, that's a different kind of nerd, isn't it? I figured you'd have to be a truck nerd before you wanted to make a truck simulator.
I don't know why, but whenever I look at the two genres, well, kind of fields of game dev that I feel are most geared towards just making money, is mobile gaming and sim gaming. Like, if you're making a truck sim and just pumping them out year by year, it's like you like money. Like,
You like
Yeah.
money.
Also,
it's nice to eat.
it's a pretty lucrative niche audience. I used to know developers in Australia who mainly made train simulators, and they'd put out like the kind of developers that bring out like $100 DLCs of like all these new trains that exist in real life. Apparently, you can make a lot of money if you can sucker that niche in, because that's how you be profitable as a game dev. You either make a $20 game that sells to 10,000 people, or you make a $2,000 game that sells to 10 people.
oh yes.
But they said that with that comes a certain amount of obligation, because train nerds are very, very serious about making sure your trains are 100% accurate to how they appear in real life. If one siding is out of place, you'll get it in the neck.
Yeah, like the War Thunder crowd. They're so stringent about the historical accuracy. They're breaking national security laws left, right, and center. Jesus Christ. Crazy types.
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, not a game dev, but I have tons of respect for Tom Kalinske, former Mattel employee and CEO of Sega of America, who helped bring Sonic to stardom. Oh, we've got him to blame, do we?
Mm-hmm. I'm having words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd still want to talk to them. Well,
fucking Sonic 2006, fucking Sonic Chew, it all comes back to that, dude.
Mm-hmm.
like the Sonic people who make mobile games, I want to be like, just not like why judging so much as like, how did you end up here? You know,
I agree.
For the
It's
stuff
why.
I love, I also want to know for the ones I don't love. I'm like, what made you do this?
The why
Yes.
and how. Like
Yeah,
for Kaczynski, I'd say how did you do it? Like, and how is it still a thing? Like,
Kaczynski,
you're a wizard.
the
Yes.
Unabomber. What?
Yes. Explain yourself, Unabomber. Well, he'd probably just tell you to read the fucking manifesto, wouldn't he?
Mhm.
Yeah, I explained myself. Yeah.
Read the Sonic manifesto.
Yeah. Zeratha gives $5 and says, it's Jamate. Hi, Jay. Also, Frost. Cold Take felt a bit different today on the intro and outro. What gives? And a nice fourth wall break on the video too. Salute.
I want respect for people's time. You know, everything's trying to eat your time up. I'm like, here you go. Quick, easy, enjoy.
Trying out some different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have noticed we've been experimenting with thumbnails and shit lately. Just
I've always wanted
trying,
those. I just never had the time. Yeah.
trying to do what we can to help get the fucking algorithm to work with us.
Yeah, the algorithm is a bitch. So
Yeah, I mean,
everyone
we
in
don't.
chat who's helping us with that.
I mean, obviously, we're more we're less focused on YouTube views than we are on Patreon subscribers. But getting big YouTube views is how you get potential Patreon subscribers. That's my attitude.
To me, it's I guess auteur being. I don't know. I always wanted it all to be one complete packaged thumbnail video, all of it all crammed in together. So this is like the second phase of it, I suppose. We're at second phase at Second Wind.
There you go. The second wind of Second Wind.
Oh my god.
Rose Delta gives $10 and says, I can count on one hand how many game devs I've interacted with ever. One was a freeware game dev, one's a friend who works at Gearbox, the other is Yahtzee because of Starstruck Vagabond. Yes, Rose Delta was one of our QA testers.
Oh, nice.
We put a call out. We put a call out on the fan Discord, if you'll recall.
Yes.
Thanks for your help, Rose Delta. Still hanging out in the Starstruck Vagabond Discord channel, letting me know when someone else finds another game-breaking bug I forgot about.
Fix your shit.
Are they slowing down?
Hopefully.
Dr. Theo, member for 6 months in tip jar. Thank you very much. And then gives another $5 to say, while they're not my absolute favourite studio, I'd love to have a lunch with Devolver Digital. We can talk about how much we enjoy virtual violence. See, they're more a publisher than a developer these days, but they certainly have a curation attitude.
Yeah.
They certainly very firmly curate the games they publish, which is nice to see.
Oh.
It's weird though, because they're curated, but they don't. It feels crazy. Like they're just like, this seemed interesting. Let's publish this. But it's obviously very meticulously curated.
Well, I assume so. I suppose any indie publisher has to very meticulously pick what they publish because there's so many of the buggers.
Yeah.
Did you do Alex Armstrong's?
Oh yes, Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Spark the Electric Jesters dev Lake Feppard's cool. Probably as cool as anyone named after a body of water can be."
What's their last name? Feppard.
Feppard.
Lake
Feppard.
What a name.
I know. Well, like the Freedom Planet dudes, a developer who got their start in Sonic fan games and now makes Sonic knockoffs.
Well, that's the way to get into the industry, guys.
The pipeline.
Make some Sonic.
Yeah, I mean, my attitude towards fan work is that it's a great entry point. If you're still doing it after 10 years, something's gone wrong.
Well.
What happens if you do graduate to the IP?
Well, that's just the snake eating its own tail, isn't it?
Oh my god. Ouroboros.
What's Rabbids?
Rabbids?
Yeah. Doing their own thing and then they got integrated.
About 10 bob a month, isn't it?
I
don't know. Shut up. Dale Mallows gives $2 and says, "My favourite dev is some unknown cunt named Yahtzee."
Yeah, yes. Consuming Shadow 2. Come on.
It's on the back burner. I'm more interested in making detective games at the moment. I'm thinking about my Battle Royale detective game I've mentioned.
What in the hell? All right.
Yeah, it's a great concept.
I've been feeling a bit listless lately because I've put out Starstruck and I've put out my book, so I'm not really working on anything. So I should probably... I think I need to start making notes for the next book, or the suicidal thoughts will start creeping back in.
Also, like, if you ever need help making a multiplayer game, I'm currently working on one, so you want help setting up multiplayer stuff for your Battle Royale detective game, give me a shout.
He doesn't like multi.
No, this is a single-player Battle Royale detective game in which you don't actually participate in the Battle Royale. I've told you about this idea, haven't I, Jay? It's where you're a researcher for Battle Royale, like, organizers, whose job is to figure out your job is to go through the ruined battlefield, identify every corpse, and identify who killed who.
Yeah.
Oh, very Oberdin. Do it.
Yeah,
I need another one. I need
very Oberdin, yes. But I'm aiming for procedural.
Ooh, okay.
Procedural crime scene investigation, sort of. Anyway. Savage Grey Wolf gives $5 and says, "Did Yahtzee ever meet the Insomniac folk? And if so, what did they think of his terrible opinion of Sunset Overdrive?" Oh, piss off, Savage Grey Wolf. We're all entitled to our opinions.
But what did they say of yours?
I've never met them, and I don't know.
Not yet.
Tragic.
I mean, could they really begrudge my feeling that Sunset Overdrive was a bit cringy?
It was
not you specifically, but in mass, sure. They got a lot of feedback saying that.
I'm sure, yeah. Anyway, Geldon Yetic gives $4.99 and says, "I've only ever dabbled in independent game development, but I think it changes a person who has done enough, who has suffered for their art." Well, I guess I've been indie game deving since I was in high school, so I guess I will never know what kind of person I would have been if I hadn't gotten into that.
Imagine the
talent. Can you be less cynical?
Yeah,
maybe I'd just be writing books.
The horror stories come from meeting C-suite. That's who I get to meet. You guys are meeting devs, but I get to meet my favorite people, and they're like accountants, monetization, designing, all this other kind of stuff, marketing and whatnot. And so much of it just is similar to game dev, and my publisher wants it in a very specific way. I'm like, I'm sorry, only so much I can do.
Alex Armstrong comes back with $2 and says, "Would you interview Swery to see how he thinks?" Well, I'd be hesitant, having said on record and as many as recently as a few minutes ago that he can't design for shit.
That'd still be fun, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to pick his brain. I mean, I think he takes his work seriously. Because if you look at like the behind-the-scenes stuff for Deadly Premonition and for The Good Life, he put a lot of research into realizing his like settings. He like went to a small American town, like toured it, took pictures, figured out everything worked. And if you play The Good Life, it very authentically feels like rural Britain.
Yeah,
It's just the games play like arse.
gameplay.
And you're two rural Brits, right? You could get along with you.
I was not so much rural as like mid-country industrial. I grew up in a small town whose main source of income was a cement works.
Yeah, I'm rural. I'm Shire. My grandparents owned the only shop in our village.
Yeah, that's rural.
Yeah,
I grew up in a town that had a shopping centre.
yeah,
That's
very different.
that's mid-range. My town was mid-range.
Dishonored is what I'm picturing there.
Dishonored.
If you
Yeah,
like.
we were talking about that in staff chat today. Like, I was doing my voiceover and I just had this god awful noise. I was like, "What is that? Who's brought the steamroller over?" And then I looked outside and there was an actual antique steamroller going down my street. And I'm like, "What the fuck is? Where am I? Get me out of here! Immigration lawyers, please bring me to America so I can get shot."
You might want to wait till after the election. Although honestly, I'm feeling a bit more positive about that given recent events.
Yeah. It's looking a lot more positive.
Yes.
We'll see.
Kamala Harris is my favorite game developer.
I loved Hatful 2, made by Kamala Harris.
Yes, yeah. Tommy Salty, member for 8 months. Hi, Tommy, in tip jar. And then gives 10 PLNs and says, "Love Eugen Systems, who saved RTS games. SD2 rules." Okay, I don't know what any of that means, Tommy Salty. What's SD2?
SD2.
San Diego 2?
Yeah.
Standard definition 2?
RTS, so it'd be one of them.
Sammy Davis Jr. 2?
Yeah.
I think of celebrities with those
Sammy
initials.
Davis Jr. the second.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's redundant, isn't it?
Yeah. Junior.
Anyone? What's SD2? Chat?
Yeah,
Anyone
guys
know?
in chat. What's SD2?
It's like in
Tommy Salty. Fill us in.
Tommy Salty, what's SD2?
Yeah, El
Cheshire.
Cheshire. Biden dropped out. Where
No
have you
way,
been?
you're hearing this from us. This is not a good way to find news,
El
man.
Cheshire, get your head out of Photoshop and Illustrator and look at the news. Come on.
Stable diffusion.
Stable diffusion.
Apparently. Okay, I still don't know what that is, but okay.
Steel Division 2.
Division?
Okay.
I
Steel
also
Division.
don't know what that is. Yeah.
And so
Anyway, Ben Collier.
Twice?
Ben Collier gives £5 and says, "Shout out SCS Truck Sim Devs." Another one. Jesus.
Oh my god.
Great community engagement and no shitty business practices. Just keep making good content at a fair price, often free.
I'll go
Yeah,
ask.
people really coming out for those truck sim dark guys.
Are they themselves truckers, or is this sort of like white collar fantasizing blue?
I gotta think if you're making a truck sim, you gotta have some kind of nostalgia for being a trucker,
Maybe their dad.
Or like
know.
money.
or you like
Because
money.
People buy them, and I'm all for it. I think farming sims and
Right.
truck sims are good games, and I think they're
Well,
designed extremely well.
I was never a trucker, but I've had fun playing Euro Truck Simulator. It's a fun, chill out second screen sort of experience.
Yeah, it's. I'm not bashing.
I
the
used to
games and their
manage
design.
trucks, and that's why I don't yearn for it. I used to like be in charge of logistics and all that, and sometimes I'd have to be the one in the passenger to get the shipment through. That's why I don't yearn.
It's
That's
a
why I
niche.
wonder.
It's a niche, but people will pay for it. Just like there are suspiciously wealthy furries, that will buy art that you draw. There's lots of people who.
Oh
like
yeah, I
buying
mean that's where the
frames.
real money is in like commission art, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fetish crowd.
Oh, I have professional artists who make a lot of money, and all they draw is like furry porn.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Judge the audience, not the author.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hawkeye Goth gives 100 Swedish kroner and says, I love Peter Molyneux. He gives off big Labrador energy. And I dearly hope Thid doesn't age poorly because he plays baseball with ducklings or something.
Jesus.
I've never met him in person. I was at like an in-person talk by him once. But I've like spoken to people who have talked to him in person, and yeah, he comes across a bit weird, but you know, weird in a nice Labrador sort of way.
It's like if your very slow talking maths teacher decided to go into games
Yeah.
and somehow became super successful.
Is it like Labrador energy? Like just doesn't have any respect for its own space.
Look
Might
at
sit
that
on
video.
the baby type of thing.
Look at that video.
Oh
that
no, you're
Eric's
right.
got up. He
Yes.
is teaching maths. He's like, oh, that's just the square root of pi, and yeah,
Yes.
oh,
Yes,
Fable?
he's Walter White teaching a disinterested class at the start of Breaking Bad.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I should have said uninterested class. Disinterested and uninterested have subtly different meanings, language fans.
Oh, do they?
Of course they do.
Yes, uninterested means bored. Disinterested means unbiased, as in you don't have an interest.
Interesting.
Anyway, Jumbly Wobbly, member for 8 months in sponsor-free videos, and says, I have 200 characters for use, but Yahtzee, will you meow for us in your Monday best? Please just give me this one. Meow. Well, funnily enough, I did one take for Edward McMillan where I actually tried to sound like an actual cat. Meow. 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 But then he said, could you also do me a take of just reading the words in a posh British accent? Just went, meow, hiss, hiss, purr.
There you go.
And apparently that was more what he was after.
Yeah, he wants it because he's collecting so many creatives and whatnot. He wants it to be very clear, like this is them.
Yeah, recognizable voices.
Oh, fair enough. All the games gives $499 and says, I'd like to meet Tetsuya Nomura just to hear him attempt to explain the fucking plot of Kingdom Hearts and his thought process of writing it.
I want to
Yes,
see
I
their
don't care.
obsession with feet. What is up
It
with Sora's feet?
It astonishes me that Disney seem to be so hands-off with Kingdom Hearts. I mean, considering the tight stranglehold they have on all the rest of their IP.
I was going to say, yeah, why don't they have a Kingdom Hearts ride? But that is just Disneyland.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to change anything.
Pedro gives €23.99 and says, I always catch these in my podcast app, so here's for all the good times and interesting topics. Also on the topic, I bought a Playdate to play Lucas Pope's game, so him, I guess. You know, I was thinking about the Playdate, because I was thinking about my prototype for my Battle Royale Sim detective game, and one of the main mechanics in that is you have like you have a video of like the battleground, and you can like rewind back through it to like specific points, like when a gunshot is heard, so you can analyze the sound and figure out where it came from.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it occurred to me that the Playdate's hand crank might be a useful thing to have for that.
Yeah,
To let you like go back and forth through the footage.
That'd be awesome.
I wish I hadn't been on that because I want to play it. I've gone back and played his older games, and it is insane how like technically design focused he is. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm not buying a whole whatever that thing is, a cranker, just for that one game. As much
Gonna
as I
make me
want
crank.
it. Yeah.
Alex Armstrong again comes back with $5 and says, as a fan, I like Yahtzee as a dev, critic, and novelist. Yes, I'm what they call a triple threat, fellas.
Oh my god.
Even if he has beef with stuff I like, Sonic, 3D platforming, and tone shifts. Keep up the great work.
It's good to have
I'm fine
faith.
with 3D platforming. I love a hat in time. I just hate shit 3D platforming. As
Like
in
everyone
most
does.
3D platformers from like the early PS1 era.
Well, like I don't hate all live service. It's just so many of them are just cack.
Yeah. Cack.
Where one stands out.
That's a very up north sort of dialect. Cack.
Cack, yeah.
I've just cacked me pants.
Classic.
I wouldn't think to have heard that from you, Frost. Is that like an American phrase? Cack?
No, definitely not. No.
No, Frost just watches a lot of British TV, I think.
Yeah.
I was brought
Frost
up
is
on that.
getting Frost
in
is
my
getting some British energy off of us. It's you're
hanging out with Brit friends. So yeah, I know like your Brexit geezers and your who's that? Abosh. Who's that one fella?
Hmm?
Talks about pouring his gravy without looking down because he's an absolute governor.
Oh, he's an absolute governor. Yeah,
I don't know who that man is, but I'm like, Jesus Christ,
he's
the charisma.
he's every like tradie in England. Like,
Yeah, sure, but I'm like, I hope this isn't some like alt-right grifter that made its way onto my TikTok just because I
no,
like
he's
how he
just
talks.
he's just a geezer, mate.
Yeah.
Tsunami Dusha gives $20 and says nothing. This is Tsunami Dusha's habit, it seems.
Nice.
And then Pedro comes with €249 and says, also, Jermaine, can you use the no true Scotsman argument? Yes, if you're going to be in Marty's place, you're going to have to be no true Scotsman.
As in, when you basically say that if you don't agree with someone in your field, you basically say they're not part of your field.
Essentially,
Sort of. They're not a real member of your field.
Yeah. Oh, that person's acting. That Scotsman is acting like a dickhead, so they're not a real Scotsman. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. With all of the controversy that's happened with specific devs, they're not real devs. You know.
Yes, I wish real devs would come back.
Yeah, they do quit and become bee herders.
I was really jazzed because one of the big answers in the New York Times crossword a couple of days ago was no true Scotsman.
Interesting.
After you keep pounding
I
that
haven't
in
heard
the
that
Marty,
phrase for
maybe he
Yes.
gets
years.
Because the theme was logical fallacies. So one of the answers was no true Scotsman. Another one was post hoc ergo propter hoc. That was like the longest answer in the grid. And I got that with only like 3 letters. I was like, yeah, I'm the crossword master today.
Oh my god.
Don't mess with me on logical fallacies,
Where
New
do
York
you do the
Times.
crossword?
In the app.
In the app. Oh yeah, but where?
Yes.
Where are you? Are you on the sofa? Are you on the toilet? What are you doing?
I'm on the toilet usually these days. Or I'm sitting on the couch in the evenings watching Taskmaster on YouTube.
I have a theory that crossword apps are trying to collect like stall time data because people only ever do them on the toilet, so that they're working to get data on when people go to the toilet.
I don't do the crossword on the toilet. I do Wordle on the toilet.
Okay.
That's dangerous doing a crossword on the toilet. You'll paralyze yourself.
Yeah. You'll give yourself hemorrhoids if you leave wiping that long till you've dried out.
I've got a cross.
Anyway. Fox D gives $10 and says, it truly is astounding how well the hobby shop business model works. I went from spending my paper route money on model railroading as a kid to spending my paycheck on ATS/ETS2 DLC as an adult. Yeah, like I say, it's a lucrative niche to get 10 people to pay $1,000 and all that.
Oh,
so people who like model railways are really into model railways.
These games aren't that expensive.
But I have a plan to make a game.
It's the DLC that you make the money from.
Yeah,
It's $26
for a bit in the future. For a future episode, I'm going to be making a game for like a future episode, and I'm gonna like put it on Steam. But like, so people don't buy it, I'm gonna put it on for like a ludicrous amount of money, so like people don't accidentally buy it and think it's a fully fledged game and blah blah blah. But I guarantee you, some fans on here will find it and will buy it because we have some suspiciously wealthy fans. You know who you are. Don't buy that game.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Witticism comes along with $5 and says, what is the worst interaction each of you have had with a game dev? No need for names, but I'm curious about your different experiences.
I've got mine.
Difficult devs.
Worse with the dev. It's more so disheartening to see one that's, I don't know, kind of stuck up themselves and really insisting on a very specific design, and then they do inevitably kill their game. Like that's the hardest. It's like watching someone self-harm.
I can't really think of any negative encounters because normally when I meet them, it's all in fun mode because they recognize me as the guy who makes the fun videos, and so everyone's in a good mood.
Yeah.
And all the times I've worked with game devs have been basically fine and professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine. I said this on DevHeads on Friday, so apologies if you watch DevHeads, but it is what it is. I was doing some freelance work years ago, and I was brought on to do all of their sound effects and their soundtrack, and got on a call with them and was basically like, it was an indie game, and I was like, right, so give me a breakdown, tell me your kind of, what vibe do you want for this, like what do you want it to feel like, what direction do you want me to take with the sound and stuff like that. And their immediate response was, oh, it doesn't matter, nobody cares about sound, they won't notice. And just left. So yeah, I left the project because fuck that.
Okay, that sounded fucked.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to talk about interactions with creatives, when the artist of my Galaxy for Food books submitted his original idea for the art for the second book, if you look at the cover for my second book, I'm sure Eric will bring it up, We'll Destroy the Galaxy for Cash, it shows the main character coming out of a portal while holding up a ray gun. In the original art, he didn't have the gun, he was just pointing a finger upwards. And I remember saying, dude, we've all worked as contractors. We all know the old trick of doing one thing that's a really obvious fix so that the middle management types can feel like they've contributed.
Yeah.
So obviously, I kind of suspect this is what you're doing here. So I'm going to ask that you put a gun in his hand instead of just pointing a finger up, which I'm sure you anticipated. Well, I didn't talk to him directly. I was talking through like agents and publishers and stuff.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But yeah.
It's true. It does happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've done it myself as a contractor in the past.
Yep.
Oh, I've just remembered. More awkward encounters with devs. I used to be mates with someone who worked on Prince of Persia 2 Thrones.
Yeah.
And the main chief thing he'd worked on was the chariot racing sequences, which I described in my review of that game as needless and finicky.
Yeah.
And he held that over me the whole time I knew him.
Oh my god.
Yes. Oh, are you sure you want to come out? Are you sure it wouldn't be too needless and finicky for you?
God damn. Oh my god.
Good.
Yeah, it was fun though, but I could tell he was quietly seething on that for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Where were we? Jay Ansel gives £5 and says, not a dev, but let's not forget Tommy Tallarico, a veritable video game industry icon, according to himself. Yes, we've all seen the H-Bomber Guy video, Jay Ansel.
Ooh.
Who we actually hung out with at GDC, actually. H-Bomber Guy. For all of like 2 minutes.
This beforehand. He is an elusive, like, cryptid man. Yeah. We were trying to meet up with him for ages, and like, I get all going to different things.
All it really had was that we were both at GDC, and we were like Twitter DMing with him, and we were all like, "Hey, we're between things we have to go to at this specific point. If you want to hang out," and they said sure, and then, we just sort of tried to keep an eye out.
Where we were, the convention place, was absolutely gargantuan.
Well, that's conventions for you.
Yeah, it was. I'm not used to it. I'm from little rural England, right? Like, you were explaining.
Yeah, I've been to E3, bitch. That'd blow your mind.
It would blow my tiny little socks off. But we were just trying to find him. We did eventually.
And then we got to chat for all of 2 minutes before we had to run off.
Go to one of our many meetings. Oh my god! Go to another hotel room to see another dev. How woe is us
again? That's to be expected of the convention experience if you're covering it for media.
Yeah, it's mad.
Camilo Hell 777. Oh no, sorry. Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Wonder how Bob and his game are doing these days." Yeah, that was a weird one.
I'd love to meet him, but like with a nice thick pane of glass between the two of us.
Yeah, that dude was just plain old mad.
Like him in a blue jumper, me in a nice secretary outfit. Hello, Clarice. Like that would be a meetup.
What did Peter Molyneux say to you?
Yes.
Camilo Hell 777 gives $5 and says, "Do you guys think we'll ever get a resurgence of RTS games like that of the 90s, or this genre is destined to be a niche for the foreseeable future?"
A lot of
I'd say it's in the same boat as point-and-click adventure games and anything that's not a third-person action adventure with stealth action and crafting elements.
It's
Niche stuff is going to be forever indie, I'm afraid. But why would you want to hang out exclusively with AAA anyway? They're a bunch of dicks.
RTS is indie. I mean, like,
I always find the devs
isn't it still
really
huge in
chill.
Korea?
Well, yeah, but it's not. You couldn't sell it on a PS5.
No, you couldn't. Yeah, if you can figure out how to get it on console, there's one. You also have to really pick a lane between casual and competitive. Closest you're gonna get to real-time strategy being popular is like Bloons Tower Defense, and that's not even close.
Yeah, they've tried to do strategy on consoles. That like Command and Conquer had a PlayStation release. It's never really worked out. Brutal Legend, they tried. But yeah, that game was at its best when it wasn't being a real-time strategy game, if you ask me.
That's what blew my mind in Tim Schafer's interview. I asked him about the real-time strategy stuff because, you know, when I was younger playing Brutal Legend, I loved all of the action stuff, but the RTS stuff was my first introduction to it. Now that I think about it, might have been the catalyst for putting me off RTS as a genre as a whole. And I said, why did you add this? Like, why did you decide to put this? I didn't use the words tack this on, but his response was the game was always an RTS and the combat was tacked on, which blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Well. Fox D comes back with $5 and says, whoever's designing 2024 America the game has played way too much Rainbow Six, COD, and got the wrong lesson from Spec Ops The Line.
Jeez.
Nice.
I would say the American politics is got more sort of Armando Iannucci sort of vibe to it at the moment.
That's who
People are even saying like the whole Kamala Harris thing is straight from a plot line from Veep. Like pretty much exactly the same thing happens. Like the incumbent president decides not to run for the second term, and the vice president ends up running instead.
Oh.
And that's how America gets its first female president.
Dun, dun. It's very made for TV.
Yeah. But you know, Donald Trump's success was largely because he was on TV.
There we
Oh,
go.
Sovereign gives €20 and says, hey, gents, congrats to Jay for getting Tim Schafer. That was a great episode. As for fave devs, mine would probably be Miyazaki and Mikami. Also Insomniac, as I grew up with Ratchet and Clank. Oh, and Yahtzee too, of course.
Name his games. Show me the Starstruck receipt.
Thanks for the money, Sovereign. SVS 2000 gives €5 and says, Steph Sterling famously attained US citizenship and shortly after moved back to the UK because it wasn't safe for them anymore. Well, maybe they should have moved to San Francisco then.
Why'd you three leave the UK? You, Biscuit and Sterling.
I think we all had our individual reasons. For me, initially, it was following a internet girlfriend.
That's right.
Who I broke up with like after a couple of years, but I stayed in Australia because it's Australia. It's much better than Britain. What more do I have to say? The nice weather, lovely people, generally more relaxed attitude to life, and you're far away if the world ever descends into nuclear conflict.
Already here.
And you wouldn't notice if it did happen there, right? It would still
Yeah,
be
pretty
a
much.
hot wasteland.
Fill My Ass Up gives 50 Norwegian kroner. Says, always had this almost unconditional love for Obsidian Entertainment and Chris Avallone. Their writing consistency always made their games immersive.
Any Obsidian fans in here? None of us brought up Todd Howard. What's that say of us?
What's that say of him?
Obviously, that's Bethesda.
What's that say of him?
This is fair. Yeah, I don't think
slow loading.
Huh? Oh, yeah, I don't have a lot of like love for RPG. That's why I wouldn't have included any of them.
No. I remember talking to, I think it might have been Chris Avallone, actually. I was talking about Dragon Age, and they mentioned they had like 9 novels worth of dialogue in it. And I remember saying, are you presenting that as a selling point?
Just write a
Who the
book,
fuck
man.
sits down and writes? Who the fuck sits down and reads 9 novels?
Yeah. And quantify length of a novel.
See,
Yeah.
you joke, but it's like around 30-year-old women, huge demographic for that. They just slam those things,
Not much else to do, really.
especially if it's a bit like spicy.
I would say 100,000 words would be average
100,000.
novel length. That's what I shoot for when I write novels.
Roughly how many pages is that if you've got a reasonable font and kerning and
Usually around the 300 mark.
Okay.
Who's going and standardize these things? Yeah.
Well, that's just what I like to aim for when I write
Right.
a novel. That feels like a satisfying novel length.
Mm.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like National Novel Writing Month, it's like, what is it? Just like 30,000?
It's a lot of words.
Which
I don't know.
which is more of a novella, if you ask me.
Reading.
Or 50k, Loki's wager. Yeah, 50k is National Novel Writing Month. Ellie Berry gives 4.99 and says, "What auteur dev would you say is the most auteur? I like Yoko Taro, near dev, and I think he might take the cake."
Shoot.
Well, of course, when we say who's the most auteur, who has the most tight control over the theming and storytelling of their works, I suppose.
If not the indie devs, but I assume like people working with other people. Shoot.
Webby, maybe? It always strikes me as being the most hands-on.
I mean, Miyazaki was kind of like, I make the map and the lore, and
Eric Barone from Stardew Valley, like any
solo dev again, of course.
Yeah, anyone who's a solo dev. I want to make a video on this. Like, I think it's a mistake to put auteur label on people who run studios with hundreds of people under their staff, because there's too many of them, and it's because there's so much to do and so many people working on things. Like, they're steering the ship, but they're not really doing the work. And I think we should be putting. Do you know we're talking about? Oh, remember you could have someone's name on the front of the box. Like, I want to meet the people who made the thing, right?
Sure.
And I think sometimes,
well, it's generally perceived that the director of a movie is the one ultimately responsible for how the movie turns out.
Yeah, and they're usually not, though. Like,
and movies
they're steering the ship, right? Like, the cinematographer has a huge impact on how the movie turns out. On
Well, yes, but the perception is that the director claims responsibility, and perception creates reality.
100%, and that's what I'm kind of championing against, is championing the people who are doing those individual things. Like, a lot of the times when people see level design things in, say, Souls, they say, "Oh, Miyazaki did this," and it's like a team of people made this. And
yes. The Star Wars: A New Hope is the best editing job in Hollywood history. We've all heard that before,
right? Yeah. Now, to me, it's more like you need a front man. Undeniably, it's like Queen. Like, people don't only know Freddie Mercury, but he is your representative, so to speak.
I mean, Brian May was the one who made all those classic Queen guitar riffs, but without Freddie Mercury, it's not Queen.
Yeah.
And I think it would be nice if the devs would kind of bring up their own star power, like Axis Unseen, really funky little monster hunting game that's being made by, I think he was a level designer for Bethesda or whatnot, Nate Percupile, something like that, on his own. So, like, you kind of need to be able to take that with you. I think the industry has a bit of a name recognition problem.
100%.
Daniel Persson gives 50 Swedish krona and says, "Gabe Newell seems lovely, and his take that being late with the game is just for a little while but sucking is forever is a quote to live by." Well, Team Fortress 2 certainly lived by that quote. Now, Gabe Newell is a pretty... I'm not sure I'd describe him as chill. He was very sort of professional. Although, as I say, I was very sort of young and unprofessional when I met him, so it could have just seemed professional with my attitude.
This
You
man
know,
has it all together.
I was a little intimidated. He'd be, you know, he was pretty no nonsense in my experience.
Mm.
Anyway, Meisterkleister Heist Air gives €5. It says favorite Wordle starters. Yeah, I like adieu and story to cover all vowels.
Oh, that's better than mine.
Yeah, I always start with adieu, and I'm feeling pretty self-conscious because I've got a new feature on the app called the Wordle bot, and it's like an AI that basically analyzes your picks and tells you how skillfully you're playing. And for some reason, his old Wordle bot seems to have a lot of contempt for using adieu as a starting word. It's like, you should have started with something like plate. Because that's like the 5 most common letters in the word. Adieu is like only like 68% efficient. I'm like, piss off, Wordle bot. Because starting with adieu, I usually solve it in as many steps as Wordle bot takes.
As a man who can neither spell or read, Wordle is like my worst nightmare.
I don't know. Yeah, get the vowels out of the way, then some of the more common letters, and then you usually got it within 3 or 4.
I start with adieu, and then my next word depends, because I play Wordle in hard mode, where you have to keep everything you've learned with each guess. So if you've guessed that S is in the starting position, all your guesses have to start with S.
Oh,
because you say hard mode, but that's how I play. I thought that's how we were supposed to play. I don't do one word and then a whole bunch of new letters, which I guess is more efficient.
Yeah, if you play it in easier mode, then you can just. When I used to play in easy mode, I'd start with like pious, and then crane usually.
Right,
but in
a bunch of different letters. Okay.
But in hard mode, I start with adieu, and then my next word depends on what, if anything, comes up from adieu. Like if like the E shows up in the right position, then I'll start with something like loser after that, because that will throw in the that will throw in the O, and L, S, and R are 3 of the more common consonants.
Yeah, my starting word is audio. I think I like adieu more for E.
Yeah, I use adieu because E is literally the most common letter in the English language, so it's better to start with getting an E in there to get it out of the way.
I like it.
Senyu says, Jamaica, you learning disabled, brother. Yeah, 100%. I have dyslexia, which is extra funny when you find out my last name is literally Reed. Like they used to joke at school that my middle name was Kant. So James Kant. Classic fucking joke.
How sensitive of them to...
No, it's a legit a great joke. If you ever want to stop getting bullied, just laugh at their jokes. Because if it's actually funny, they'll just be like, oh, you're like unbullyable.
Sinu gives $9.99 and says, Red existentially challenged and will leave the galaxy for good this week, and well audiobook in the car, great stuff. What is your favorite flavor crisps? Salt and vinegar?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I'm probably going to have salt and vinegar with my lunch today, but I like cheese and onion, which is a shame because they don't really do cheese and onion in America. They do sour cream, cheddar and sour cream, which I kind of hate, and they do sour cream and onion, which tastes a lot like cheese and onion.
But it's not cheese and onion though. Cheese and onion.
But it's not cheese and onion.
Yeah. Is that like a British thing, having cheese and onion crisps?
Yeah, there's a lot of like British chip flavors that you don't get in the US. Like chicken flavored crisps is a strictly British thing.
Yeah, like roast chicken. Yeah,
we got roast
smoky bacon. You can't get smoky bacon chips in the US.
Yeah, prawn cocktail.
Nope.
Fucking hell! I filled out my immigration forms yesterday. I think I'm going to rip them up.
I'll tell you what I most miss is prawn cocktail flavor skips.
Yes,
there's no real equivalent to those. I got to import them.
They are delish. Every time I get a meal deal. Do you guys get meal deals?
Not really.
Like, okay, that's mind blowing. If I'm at the shop and I'm getting a meal deal, I'm getting a pack of skips because they're legit. They're the best.
Yeah.
On cocktail skips. These are just lobster chips.
Prawn cocktail, yeah. It's a nice flavor. It's tangy. It's good.
Yeah.
I gotta try these.
I guess it's more flavored like the sauce you get in prawn cocktail rather than the flavor of prawns.
Rather than actually prawns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So you might be disappointed by the snack selection in the US. No Mars bars either. You got to get shitty American chocolate bars
Oh
like
my
your
God.
fucking Three Musketeers, which is basically just a fat Milky Way, if you ask me.
Milky Ways are all right.
But they're not Mars bars.
No, they're not Mars bars, are they? Fuck. Well, stop disincentivizing me to come over.
I can't help it. I have a lot of opinions on snacks
Fair.
because I'm used to the best.
Yeah.
Because UK snacks are great. Australian snacks are close second.
Yeah,
US
we might not
snacks
have great
kinda
cuisine.
suck.
We got good snacks.
You gotta go to a gas station for the good ones.
Oh yeah.
Do not eat Twinkies. He's trying to trick you.
No, not those.
What's your go-to snack, Frost? What's
Me?
your?
Oh, I don't get American snacks. I go to like the Oriental market.
No,
Yeah.
I'm either way. Like, what would you recommend?
Well, the ones you named, like chicken flavored chips and whatnot. Outside of that, you've got the generic Doritos, the Cheetos selection,
Yeah.
right?
We get those here, but
Yeah, like I get Mexican candy and all that good stuff, tajin flavored stuff. Yeah,
cool.
Tamarind.
yeah, tamarind's huge. I don't know, love it.
I only was thinking about tamarind because I was idly reading the side of my HP sauce bottle. Another thing I have to import, incidentally,
Jesus.
and that's got tamarind in it as well.
Tamarind's great.
I think some US grocery stores stock HP sauce, but I wouldn't count on it.
Do you get like
sauce,
British
what's
sections?
Some
Depends on where you're at.
Yes, I've been to some like mainstream grocery stores that have British sections. There is a chain in California called Cost Plus World Market that does imported foods, and they usually have a British section.
Mm.
That's where I get my Branston pickle.
Branston, oh yeah. You got good taste.
Tomatoes and tamarind, the HP sauce. I've never seen this. Wow, we're a big condiment nation. I'd like to think. I'm not surprised we don't have that.
Condiment nation,
think-
because you can just have like 500 different types of ranch.
Yeah,
The
and
UK
mayo,
is
yeah.
the UK is a very condiment nation because all the base food is so bland.
Yeah.
We have to put condiments on for them to taste nice.
Yeah.
So that's what people don't get about British food. They say, "Oh, it's bland," and I said, "Yeah, of course it's bland. You got to put HP sauce on it and vinegar."
Yeah,
And-
we have a
and-
ritual at my house, me and my housemate, where we go on sauce runs, where we go
Yeah.
out shopping just for sauce, like just for condiments, and we come home with like bags full of it and fill our fridge. Like it's a whole thing.
Who wouldn't put vinegar on their chips? Sometimes I've been tempted to put balsamic vinegar in a hip flask just so I can have it when I'm getting chips at a fast food place.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, totally do not have a problem at all.
Speaking my fucking language, dude.
Anyway, oh blimey, that was quite a. There's like 6 more super chats while I was ranting about that.
Oh,
We're
fuck.
stalling.
Tsunami Dusha gives $5 and says, "I would like to meet Mon Hun director Yuya Tokuda. Many design choices I'd like to pick apart, like level structure and monster choice development." Oh, Monster Hunter. I didn't get that.
Fucking love Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
Really like it.
Capcom.
Yeah, Sovereign gives $5 and says, "I totally could list all of Yahtzee's games, Frost. Don't tempt me. Poacher is still probably my favorite, but I did enjoy Starstruck quite a lot."
Boom.
Oh, that blast from the past.
Good fucking game.
Yeah, Poacher was my first game maker game after I graduated from Adventure Game Studio.
There you go.
It was a basic Metroidvania sort of affair.
Were you well satisfied by Game Maker, or did you just not feel like looking for another one?
I guess, I've experimented with Unity, but I don't really like working in 3D.
Fair.
And Game Maker is probably the best if you want to stick to 2D.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend Godot. Godot's like so diverse and there's so many tutorials. It's basically like the blender of game engines at the moment. Like it's so good, especially for 2D. We're developing the bog in Godot. So we're giving that a look.
There you go.
Herd Hosting gives $10 and says, one of my favorite devs has to be Daisuke Ishiwatari for the Guilty Gear franchise. The series is a pioneer in fighting game design and animation, and he's the lead composer for the franchise as well. I am very jealous of solo devs who can also do the music, like Pixel on Cave Story. And I think Toby Fox as well.
Eric Barone as well.
Or the devs that have like siblings that they're essentially a family studio, right? Like the Thompson brothers make the games. One does music and art, the other one makes it.
I have no ability to make music whatsoever. I've always had to third party it.
Have you tried?
I've experimented with when I was working with Adventure Game Interpreter, the old Sierra engine. I messed around with like a MIDI keyboard for a bit, but I have no ear for music whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Nick Knoll gives $5 and says, Yahtzee, try Absurdle by QNTM. It's Wordle, but the AI cheats and changes its word to give you as little information as possible. Well, that just sounds annoying.
What? I'm looking at this. What? All right, you put in plate, and then what's it asking of you? Oh, I'm confused. Onwards.
Onwards. Hunter Road gives $10 and says, not much to add this week, so here's $10 towards Metroid Prime trilogy. I do wish some of these indie devs who keep updating their games would release another one so I can give them more money. Is that a dig, Hunter Road? Because I've been updating Starstruck lately.
Yeah, stop cleaning it.
All right, we'll make your next one, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm definitely the sort of person who wants to move on to the next one. Like, I love Stardew Valley, but I don't really like what Eric Barone's done, just constantly adding more content to it that sort of increasingly feels like it's getting away from the fundamental core gameplay.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
I got to the tropical island bit that he'd added and concluded, I don't want to be here. I want to be working on my farm. I don't give a shit about fucking golden coconuts.
Imagine. I don't know. Yeah, make your next one an absolute data-driven cash grab. Let's go for it.
But where's
No
the
integrity.
satisfaction in that?
You can have a satisfying one after. Just do it just to say that you did.
Beneath 11111 gives 50 Swedish krona and says, I would like to see you guys do each other's shows. Yahtzee doing Design Delve, Jamate doing Cold Take, and Frost doing Fully Ramblematic.
Imagine.
I did Design Doc. That's...
They done. They did.
I did Design Dev Diary, rather. That was my thing.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. I don't think I could do Cold Take. I don't have the voice, and like the way the Frost writes is just so good and so unique. Like, it's not possible, I don't think. Yahtzee could do Design Delve, I think. But I couldn't. I don't think I could do.
I don't think I could match you on Knob Gags a minute. I could probably hit your pace. The writing would be very weak, but honestly, the intimidating thing is just how many games you go through. Just nonstop. That's scary.
Yep. One a week. They mount up over 16 years. Turns out.
Like 2 games in the past month.
Have you calculated how many you've done?
It's about at 1,000 now.
Well, that's just I've reviewed something like probably getting close to 800 now. But that's just games I've reviewed. I've played a lot of games and then decided not to review them.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of games and decided not to review them, and then there's all the games I've played in up till throughout my life. From childhood onwards. I reckon I could have played as many as 5,000 video games in my whole life.
God.
When I have my first child, I'm gonna start every game they play, I'm gonna tattoo a tally on them. So we'll be able to count them. We'll start on their forehead, work our way down.
Right.
Oh, Julia Minamata's in the chat. I think I know who that is. They do videos on old adventure game stuff.
Developing an adventure game. They're going to be on DevHeads.
Oh,
yeah, no, they made the Crimson
cool.
Diamond. Yeah.
Yes.
Grand demo. Making, I suppose. It's not released yet.
Hey, Julie, if you're still there, did you once stream like a really old AGI game I made once? Because I have a memory of seeing like an old like stream of that. And I think I saw some of your other stuff later, and I eventually realized, and I thought you might have been the same person. I did what was it called? I did an old AGI style game called The Sorcerer's Appraisal. And yes, you did. There you go.
There we go.
Because I used to like use AGI edit to like hack into games like Leisure Suit Larry and King's Quest 1 and add like facetious things to them. Then I like tried making my own game. It's like the original Sierra adventure game engine that they made a lot of their early stuff in, like Space Quest 1 and King's Quest 1. And I made like a couple of my own games in it because it amused me to do so. But I was mainly an adventure game studio boy.
Classic.
Fox Teague is $5 and says, "You want your food with flavor? Lord Woolton is turning in his grave at your lack of culinary austerity." Hey, I mean, it was American food makers who were all about that. Fucking John Harvey Kellogg and his anti-masturbation cornflakes.
To be honest, they did stop me masturbating, so they work.
Yeah.
If you have enough fiber in your diet, maybe you'll stop touching yourself and we can become a country.
You're busy shitting yourself, dude. You can't.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast about that. Apparently, like all the major cereal producers from in like the early days of breakfast cereals, like the inventor of granola, the inventor of cornflakes, the inventor of post cereals, all of them were part of this like one movement that believed bland food prevented like sin.
Cereal. Oh, I was like cereal masturbation. Jesus.
I eat granola like every day, and I'm off doing crimes upon the day.
I can't help myself. God. Only a prude would make food that bland. That's just no.
I reckon it's all a front. It's like when they have those like super far right conventions who are super anti-gay, and it turns out that they're all secretly gay.
Apparently, the week of the RNC is like boom season for Grindr.
Amazing.
So imagine for that and like people making all this bland food, just hiding the good stuff and going.
Yeah, they've just got like mountains of sugar. They sleep on bags of sugar and stuff.
That's the end. Oh, no, one more. Hunter Roach, member for 8 months in the Green Gang, says that was more directed at Eric Barone and Relogic, referring to indie devs who keep updating their games without releasing another one.
Who was it where I'm like, just let it go, man? Some indie devs do that, and it hurts to see like the first game that they do that on. I'm like, nah, get in the like your 5th one, your 7th one. No, just keep going.
Yeah.
Terraria, like that's the big one. Like I think it was the devs of Terraria and Starbound combined to make Terraria 2, ostensibly. Terraria being one of the best-selling games of all time. Like it's huge.
Wasn't Starbound just a Terraria ripoff there?
Yeah, but it did some interesting things, and I could be wrong, but I think part of the devs combined to make Terraria 2, but then they cancelled it, and then they were like, we're just going to update Terraria. And then they released a final update to Terraria, and they've made that final update like 5 times or something stupid. Like they just keep adding more and more and more. It's
like when Jason 4 was the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
We've been Final Fantasying for a while now.
So we got Jason.
Yes.
Get on to the next fantasy.
Fantasy.
They can't because they're on the final one.
No.
They gotta milk the Final Fantasy as much as they can because there won't be any more after this one.
First Fantasy, let's go.
Tragic. First Fantasy.
Right, okay. Thanks for shaking next to the mic. I love it when you do that.
Yeah, we did it.
What a cutie.
See, my wife tries taking his collar off, but it's the ears. It's the ears that make the noise.
Yeah, it's like when you click.
Flap.
The clicking isn't your fingers snapping that make the sound. It's your finger hitting your palm that makes the sound of a click.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of Super Chats. Thank you, everyone, for attending and listening. And thank you, Jay, for filling in for Marty this week.
More than welcome, anytime.
Glad to see you're not all podcasted out from your
Nah,
big
anytime.
old,
If
big
you got a
knob,
slot.
big developer fucking interview
I know.
podcast.
I know, not salty at all. I appreciate it. Anytime, if you got a slot, call me up and I'll be here to chat bollocks in your direction.
I've got a slot you could fill.
Oh baby,
Beg pardon, HP sauce. Ahoy.
I'll
Yes.
bring it over.
Yes,
That's the
yes.
condition.
Bring a few bin bags full of Monster Munch when you come over.
Oh my god.
I'll pay you back.
Munch. Oh,
Yeah, that's another thing in like the US. They don't really do like the old corn-based snack like Monster Munch or Space Raiders or anything like that.
Space Raiders.
I think the closest to that would be like Funyuns. Do you like onion flavored corn snacks? Because you might like
I think I've had,
Funyuns.
when I've been over to the States, because I've been a few times, I've had Funyuns and I don't dig them, but I really like Space Raiders and Monster Munch. I think it's anything that's got like that tangy pickle, vinegary taste.
Oh yeah,
I just
pickled
love
onion
vinegar.
flavor. You won't be finding much of pickled onion flavor stuff.
Well, I'll just bring some vinegar, and then I reckon if you add your Funyuns and just like drizzled some vinegar in there, you might be set. Or they
I've got a
dissolve.
URL for you, britishfoodshop.com. That's where my wife gets half my birthday and Christmas presents
Actually a
now.
thing.
Yeah. It's an
Let's look it up.
import site for Americans.
Fish food shop.
Yes. Another great week of content from Second Wind, although Marty's off. So if you're a Marty fan, then
Sorry.
okay. Apparently Toffee's a Marty fan.
Yeah.
He
You
misses,
all right?
He misses Marty.
Are you done? He's had his walk. I don't know what's got into him. Maybe he thinks there's a squirrel outside.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yes, so if you like my stuff, then Fully Ramblematic is on the subject of Flintlock Siege of Dawn this week. Sorry, Flintlock The Siege of Dawn this week.
I didn't recognize the title without that, yeah.
Yes, and of course my Yahtzee Tries stream on Wednesday afternoon. Haven't quite picked what'll be in that, but we usually decide closer to the date anyway. And then, what else we got this week? Just my appearance in Adventurers Night as usual, I guess. Jay, plug your stuff.
Me? Oh yeah. If you haven't heard about it already, you can watch my collective sit down with Tim Schafer, which was on Deathheads last week. And this week on Friday, we have a new episode of Design Delve, which is on there is a disease infecting the games industry. So
Yee.
that'll be an interesting one.
That's a bit.
stay
That sounds a
tuned.
bit hyperbolic.
Yeah, well,
Syphilis.
you'll have
They
to see what
can't
it's
stop
about.
fucking.
But yeah,
Yeah.
check that out.
GDC is like the fucking Olympic Village.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
can't
They
get
got
the-
those cardboard beds now, which
Can't,
is the only thing
yeah.
impeding them.
can't get the condoms to the doors fast enough. Frost, plug stuff.
Plugging stuff. Cold Take just went out. Go have a look at that. Enjoy yourself. I see it. Today's Monday. I'll be back tomorrow with Will. We're going to be finishing A Way Out. Those are my plugs. I've plugged them.
Ooh. It Takes Two before they figured out how to make It Takes Two.
Does
Yep.
It Takes Two have as many mini games? Because that is.
Oh yes, oh
Yeah.
yes,
Oh
it's
my
mini
God.
gamed,
Platforming challenges, too many games. That's the game.
I'm in
mini
the
gamed up the
hospital.
wazoo.
I'm in the hospital. My wife is giving birth, and we stopped to play Connect 4 for a bit.
Yes. The book ahead, Dunkel Heights gives €2 right at the end and says, "Really missed you guys last Monday." Well, why didn't you watch us on Tuesday? That's when we were.
Because it's the start of the work week, man. People, we're out here
Yeah.
load-bearing podcasts for software devs.
Podcasts are for people who work. And if you work Monday, surely you work Tuesday as well.
Yeah, but it sets the tone for your Monday. You know, they had to do something else.
All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and-
Thanks for reminding me, Jess. I'm streaming Beyond Good and Evil on Friday for all you Beyond Good and gamers.
Ooh, that game does not hold up.
Hey, the remaster, I'd say give it a look. It's
Although I've been playing Knights of the Old Republic lately, and yeah,
talk about not holding up.
I mean, I don't want to sound ungrateful. I was surprised there was even a version I could buy on Steam, and I was surprised it still actually ran.
Mm.
But, I guess it being completely stable would have been one miracle too many.
Looking forward to your fully Ramblo on that.
Yes, that'll probably be next week's.
All right.
If you're holding out. All right, I guess that's it from us. What else is coming up today?
Today,
Hidden
We have a
Gems,
stream?
no?
Oh yes, Hidden Gems will be later.
oh.
So, do we know what they're playing?
No.
Jess, you on that
idea.
one? What are you playing? Just as in chat.
A sneaky one. Probably just
Well, whatever it is, it will be great, and you should all watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Angerfoot.
Angerfoot. Thank you, Jess. Yes, I Yahtzee tried that fairly recently. It's certainly Devolver Digital the game. We were talking about Devolver Digital curating their stuff pretty well.
Oh.
All right. Well, that's it from us then. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, we're leaving, Toffee. Don't get too excited.